Hey there, welcome back. In today's video I want to discuss one of the trickiest defenses against 1d4. And by tricky, I don't mean there is only one trick, and if your opponent doesn't fall for it, you'll be suffering for the rest of the game. No, I mean, there are several tricks that will help you organizing your play, but also there are strategical and positionally sound positions that can be reached in this defense. I'm talking about the Cambridge Springs. Without further ado, let's delve right into the Cambridge Springs. Okay, d4, d5, c4, the Queen's Gambit, e6, we start with the orthodox, but not a regular orthodox, as you will see. Knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5, and now knight b7. Yeah, the tricks start. Yeah, usually in the orthodox, bishop e7, yeah, we're intending to castle as soon as possible. And later on, we'll have to decide how to improve the situation of our light square bishop. All the details of the orthodox defense are covered in my recent Chessable course that by now is just published in Spanish, but as far as I know, it will be published in June. Yeah, I have delivered the whole course in English, the videos and everything is done, but for some organizational issues, they will publish it until June. Okay, so let's continue with the Cambridge Springs. Yeah, by playing knight bd7, we are inviting c takes d5, e takes d5, and knight takes d5 would be a blunder. Yeah, they may think they're winning a pawn, but after knight takes d5, bishop takes d8, bishop b4, queen d2, forced, there is no other way to cover the check. Queen d2, bishop takes d2, king takes d2, and king takes d8, and we have an extra piece. 1, 2, 3 against 2. So white is only having one pawn for the lost piece. Okay, so this is winning for black. On the other hand, knight bd7 usually is answered by e3. Now we play c6. Rather than bishop e7 and short castle, we open the diagonal of the queen. And this is what we want to do after knight f3, queen a5. Yeah, by pinning these knights, we exert immediate pressure and threaten knight e4. Yeah, and at the same time, we are out of the pin. Okay, but you may wonder if the queen here is going to be exposed. Yeah, sometimes may get to be exposed, but this is rare. Usually the queen is doing great on a5. Okay, the most usual move is knight d2, c takes d5, but there are other moves. For instance, a3, trying to avoid bishop b4, but then we have knight e4, putting pressure here and here. So knight d2 is a passive move, but it's a way to stop black's threats along the a5 e1 diagonal, and the game continues usually by bishop b4. Now we put pressure on c3, queen c2, and short castle. Okay, our development is really easy. And now, well, besides having some pressure in here, our problem is how to improve the situation of our light squared bishop. But now, white has to be really careful, as the most natural move, bishop d3, is answered by d takes c4, threatening the bishop and threatening the light squared bishop as well. So bishop takes f6, c takes d3, attacking the queen, queen takes d3, and knight f6, and once again we win a piece. Okay, so instead of playing bishop d3, bishop e2 is completely normal, and now there are no tricks, as after d takes e4, bishop takes f6, knight takes f6, knight takes c4. It's a little bit better for white. Even though it was played in a Capablanca versus Alekhine, a very interesting game, I will leave the PGN in the comments below in case you want to see that game. it's a pretty interesting example of how to handle restricted positions with bishop pair. Yeah, okay. So after bishop e2, my favorite move is e5. Yeah, we have to think about e5 or c5 as a way to improve our light square bishops. And e5, and e5 is absolutely the most natural one. If chess is your thing and you're trying to improve, please consider subscribing, as this is the best way you can support the channel. Thank you. Now, white has several ideas. Yeah, the first one we can analyze is c takes d5, but then e takes d4, threatening the knight, is going to be okay for us. E takes d4 and knight takes d5. And we are getting a fantastic position as we're threatening the bishop, the pawn. And yeah, this pawn is also going to fall in a lot of cases. Okay, so after bishop e2, e5, d takes e5 seems normal, but then we play knight e4. Yeah, this is a very important idea. Now knight d e4, d takes e4, and castle. Yeah, the thing is that taking with queen here is simply losing due to bishop takes e3, b takes e3, and queen c3, winning the rook. And yeah, castling, this pawn is going to fall. So after bishop takes e3, b takes c3, queen takes c3 is also playable, but good for us. We trade queens and play knight takes e5. And now our knight is ready to jump to d3 and attacking the c pawn. And now our knight attacks the c pawn and is ready to get to d3 after bishop f5, knight d3. And yeah, black is doing perfectly fine. So instead, b takes c3, black can play rook e8. Yeah, we're putting a trick. The idea is that queen takes e4 is answered by rook takes e5, threatening the queen, threatening the bishop. So, okay, white plays bishop f4, knight takes e5, and we recover the pawn as the normal looking queen takes e4 loses the queen. Yeah, it loses the queen to bishop f5. Yeah, the bishop is indirectly defended as queen takes f5, knight f3, winning the queen, check. And in case of queen d4, rook a d8, and white loses the queen. Okay, for this reason, e5 can be played. Also, another variation that is quite interesting is bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4. Now it's quite similar, but without the bishop and the knight. Now castle, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, queen takes c3, b takes c3, and white wants to have an extra pawn as rook e8 is answered by rook fd1, and we are not able to capture the pawn as rook d8 is made. In this position, black has an easy solution to this problem. Can you find it? Yeah, when I show this position, usually people want to play bishop f5, but then g4, and yeah, they have to go all the way back or let white's rook into d7. So bishop f5 is not a nice move. Instead, king f8 is the right move. Now we are ready to recapture, to regain the pawn, and there is nothing black can do to avoid it. Yeah, f4 is answered by e takes f3 and capture. And for instance, rook d4, rook takes e5. Our idea is to answer rook d8 by rook e8, rook a d1, and bishop e6. And we have a better ending in which those pawns are weak. Yeah, rook c1 is pretty popular. And after knight e4, we enjoy a fantastic position as a3, trying to prevent bishop b4, is met by knight c3, rook takes c3, and bishop takes a3, winning. Yeah, the bishop cannot be taken because of the hanging rook, and there's nothing white can do to avoid bishop takes b2 or bishop b4 winning material. So this is a pretty typical trap. I've seen it several times. And yeah, also queen c2 can be answered by knight e4, creating several threats. Here, bishop b4 is coming. So this is really annoying in case of bishop f4, then bishop b4, rook c1, and bishop queen takes a2. And we win a pawn for nothing. Okay, the other common move is c takes d5, but after knight takes d5, we exert a lot of pressure on c3 as bishop b4 is coming, c5 is coming, and this is more or less an easy game for black. And this is pretty theoretical, but it's not the intention of the video. Yeah, now I want to highlight more or less the ideas of both sides and make a deeper analysis in a future video. So as you can see, there are several nice ideas for black in the Cambridge Springs. Yeah, from the moment we play c6 and we are preparing queen a5, this is a pretty active defense. I hope you liked it. See you next time. Goodbye.